Hi everybody, today we're going to be looking at an introduction to fractions. Now, for many people, fractions are a bit scary, but I just want to say they're not scary at all. They're actually a bit of fun. So what are fractions? Well, they're a type of number that tells us about parts of a whole, one thing, or parts of sets, like a whole lot of things. So the two numbers in a fraction, so this is a half here, or so we had a quarter here, tell us some different things. They have different jobs. The numerator, which is this top number, tells you how many parts you're talking about. We'll get back to that in a second. The denominator, the number at the bottom, tells you how many times that thing has been chopped up. What do I mean? Well, I'll take these two examples here. So I've got a half here. If I start with one whole thing, like a circle here, you can sort of make that out on the white on white there. Hopefully you can see it all right. If I turn it over here, you can see it's already been chopped into halves. So you can see there, if I'm talking about one of those halves, that's what that one means there. It's been chopped into 2 bits. So that numerator tells you how many bits that you're talking about. Now, when it's a half, you can either only have 1 half or 2 halves, but when the number gets a bit bigger, that top number becomes more important. Now, when I say this number here gets bigger, what I mean is it's been chopped up more. That's a big confusion with fractions. This bottom number looks big, but it just means it's been chopped up more times. So when we talk about a large fraction, half is a large fraction, but quarter is smaller because it's been chopped up more times. And these are thirds, which have been chopped up more times than 2. So obviously there's 3 parts that have been chopped up there. Now, an important note to remember with our fractions, whether it's a half or thirds, whatever one you're looking at, it must be exactly that. If I was to chop up a circle like this, and I said, okay, I'm going to chop it into 2 bits. Oh, those are not halves. These are not halves, are they? Because I've not chopped it up exactly through the middle. I've left one bit quite a lot smaller than the other, so they're not halves. So I've chopped it, but it's not exactly a fraction. So when we're talking about fractions, it means if I'm chopping it into half or thirds or quarters or whatever number I choose, that it's precisely chopped in, so it's fair shares. And that works for division too, doesn't it? When you divide a number, you share it out fairly. Fractions are the same. We chop it up so it's fair. A good way to remember how denominators work is to think about these as pizzas. Let's just pop these away for a second. So my 2 pizzas have been chopped up in different ways. This has been chopped up 3 times. The denominator is 3. And I say to you, well, it's lunchtime, you're feeling really hungry, it's time to grab something to eat. Would you prefer 1/3 of a pizza or 1/4 of a pizza? I am very hungry and I love pizza. Which one should I choose? Well, we can compare them directly. If you don't mind me doing some snipping in front of you. You can probably see for yourself already, and if you are a hungry person like I am, you'll be going, well, it's clearly this one here, but let's put them together. So this is 1/3. I've taken 1/3 away from that whole. There's still 2/3 left, and we'll get back to that in a bit. And then if I had 1/4 of this pizza, you can clearly see that even though the number on the bottom is bigger, because it's been chopped up more times, you end up with a smaller piece. Oh, yeah. So if I was feeling hungry, I would definitely choose the 1/3, wouldn't I? Yum, making me hungry thinking about it. And If your number's bigger again, say you're chopping into eighths, well, 8 is clearly a bigger number than 4 or 3, but what it means is I've chopped it up more times. So if I wanted just 1/8 of a pizza, it would be quite a bit smaller. Now, you may have seen the relationship between 2 and 4 and 8. They get, it's like halving it each time, really, isn't it? I could probably put that on there, you see. So 1/8, it's like a fraction of a fraction, isn't it? It's actually half of a quarter. And we'll explore more of that later. So you can see clearly there that the bigger the bottom number gets, the smaller my piece gets, given that the pizza was the same size to start with. Now, what happens with sets? Okay, so we've just looked at our basic fractions. We understand that when we're talking about one thing and we chop it into bits, that we end up with two numbers. Say we had 1/4. If we chopped up one thing into 4 bits, we're talking about one of those bits, right? That's easy to understand. But sometimes we talk about sets of things. Now, the simplest set of things would be, say, 2 things. Right, we'll just put those aside for the moment. So we had 2 things. Now, I can't do 1/4 of that because there's only 2 things in there. I suppose I could get my saw out and chop those in half, but what we really want to do is look at what's possible with our sets that we do have. Now, with 2 things, I can have one of those things that we're talking about, which would be 1/2. So if I split the set into 2 parts, they'd be half each, wouldn't they? Half of the whole set. So even though there's only 2 things there, they're half of the set each, right? Now, this still works with bigger numbers as well, excuse me, very early in the morning. Now, the numbers can get more interesting. Now, I've organised 16 of these Lego blocks here. I just like them because they're colourful. And we'll put them out in order. We'll say, well, maybe we'll just go row of 8 and another row of 8, just randomly organised here. Okay, so now we can see that we have 16 of these blocks. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, just to double check. Now, we can talk about different ways to put these into fractions. So a half, pretty easy, right? I can just split them like this. So we could say that is 1/2 of 16. Now, there aren't 16 blocks in there. It's half of 16. There's 8 of them in there. You can see that clearly. The whole set is 16, but we're talking about half of them. So that's the difference between chopping up a whole number and chopping up a set. Again, when we increase this denominator, if we make this bigger, it means we've chopped it up more times. All right, so we'll just quickly get rid of this. And we'll try a few different fractions that we can do just with the same number. Actually, it's going to be easier if we just clear that all out there. Excuse me bumping this thing there. So, this is where your old friend equal sharing comes in. Say I wanted to say 1/4 of 16, right? We know that our whole set down here is 16 blocks. Now, if I'm not sure of the answer myself, I could say 16 divided by 4 would get my answer. But say I wanted to figure it out for myself, I might put 4 circles like this and say, well, if I equal share them out, so I'm only up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? So you can see that 1/4 of 16 equals 4. There's 4 in each of those sets. Now, sometimes we talk about non-unit fractions where there's more than 1 in the numerator. Seems tricky when you first come across it, but actually it's not hard at all. Say if I change that to what is 3/4 of 16, I would just count 3 of these subsets. Subset is just like a smaller part of the whole set, right? So I'm excluding this guy here, saying, no, you're not included in this game. Oh, look at him, he's all sad. But I am including these 3 subsets here. So 3/4 of 12 would be 3 lots of the 4 here. And you could use your times tables or you could just count them. So 3/4 of 16 would be 12. 3 times 4, or count them up, however works for you. So that's basically how fractions work for sets. Let's just go over chopping it up one more time. We'll clear all this off just so you can clear. We've not changed the amount of blocks that are in our set, right? What if we said 1/8 of 16? Well, I can pretty much guess that you can see where this is going. So we've got our things here. We won't bother drawing circles this time. We'll just put them into separate sets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just spread it out a little bit more. 8. There we go. Then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now you can pretty clearly see there that in each of our 8 subsets there's 2. So 1/8 of 16 is 2, much smaller number. So as we increase this number, we chop the set up more times. And this is a big understanding with fractions that really helps you. If you can see that that is just whatever it is you're talking about chopped up more times, then your fractions suddenly become easy. So can we chop it up even more? Well, we can chop it up one more time without getting destructive. What would 1/16 of 16 be? Well, mathematically that's very easy, of course, because it's just 1. So we're splitting each of these in half again. So you can see that 1/16 of 16 is just 1. Each of these subsets only has 1 block in it. Oh, okay, so that would look like this. 1/16.